Welcome to episode 34 of the StormCast, the world's best podcast. I am your host, Stormy, and today we are live on YouTube, Twitter, bringing you the latest and the greatest news, stories, and updates going on around the world. Today is Friday, October 3rd, 2025. As always, the Stormcast is available everywhere you can find podcasts, so be sure to subscribe on YouTube, drop a 5-star review on Spotify, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Rumble. Your support on Patreon also keeps us going strong. All links are going to be down in the description below. And don't forget to like the video. So let's get into it. I hope everyone is having a good week so far. Before we get into today's special Stormcast, I want to give a quick sound check. Okay, looks like we're sounding good. That's good. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, we've been doing the podcast every Wednesday for the past couple of weeks. And last week we started doing it on Friday, and today is also Friday. We're doing the podcast. So I'm thinking we're going to start doing it on Fridays or Wednesdays. So just be on the lookout for either day. I'm thinking Friday is a good day, a nice chill day at the end of the week. So yeah, Fridays feel pretty good right now. If you haven't already checked out the latest episode of the Stormcast, episode 33 dropped on Dallas ICE shooting, the Trump gunman who got evicted and he's currently on trial. We talked about the Disney $3 billion loss with Jimmy Kimmel. We talked about spinal cord injury, drug breakthrough discovery, and we talked about a lot more. So if you haven't checked that episode out yet, go and check that episode out. Great episode. We have a new video dropped on the Stormy and Friends YouTube channel. It is a day in the life at the Kennedy Krieger Spinal Cord Injury Institute for Recovery and Physical Therapy. I did a full day vlog. Great video, long video, entertaining. So go check that out if you haven't already. And as you know, it is football season. My number 9 Texas Longhorns are currently sitting at 3-1 with Florida coming up this Saturday. We play at Florida. So that should be a good one. That's a tough matchup. And we're going to be at the Swamp. But I think we come through with that. I think we knocked them out. I'm not really worried about Florida as much as I am worried about next week after this one. We have Oklahoma coming up, and they're looking really good. So tough opponents coming up, but Arch Manning and my Longhorns were looking good. So also related to my football season, my Las Vegas Raiders are currently sitting at 1-3 after winning the first game of the season. We are currently on a 3-game losing streak with the Indianapolis Colts coming up this Sunday. So pretty tough opponent. They have a really good defense and solid offense as well. I think we come through with it. Our offense is starting to heat up with Ashton Genty putting up franchise numbers last week, looking really good. Everybody was worried about the Raiders and the O-line, and if Ashton Genty would be able to produce, and it looks as though he is as promised. So looking good, very promising for my Las Vegas Raiders. I am also always, of course, training and give you guys a little recovery progress tip. I actually just got done training. I did some resistance exercise today and some bag work. So Feeling extremely tired right now, but since I love y'all so much, I love y'all too much not to bring you the best podcast in the world and on the internet on a weekly basis. Okay, so we're gonna keep chugging along here. Before we get into the latest, our main topics of the episode, I want to get into some of the latest news going on around the world. So let's pull some stuff up here and let's jump right into it. I hope everyone is having a great Friday afternoon. I am feeling really good after that workout. As I said, feeling tired, but also feeling really good. So, everything you missed this week, and this is on Instagram from Puberty. Here are some of the notable stories you may have missed this week. All right. Ranging from advances in science and space exploration to milestones in sports, technology, and global finance. So let's see what's going on. Latest news. All right. And if you are in the chat, if you do join, drop a W in the chat. Let me know you're here. And yeah, so lately, NASA is back at it doing what NASA does. And NASA eyes nukes for moon asteroid. NASA scientists are considering firing nuclear devices at an asteroid that could collide with the moon in 2032. The plan aims to test planetary defense strategies and prevent potential catastrophic impacts. Okay, so NASA looking to shoot some stuff out of the air. An asteroid could either be really deadly, if it does end up making impact on our Earth. Usually it does break up in the atmosphere before making impact and before being able to land. But apparently, we have eyes on an asteroid that could collide with us, collide with the moon rather, in 2032. And if that happens, that would not be good for us, right? Because the moon does a lot for us, right? It controls tides, seasons, and a bunch of other things. So how they plan on, we know exactly how they plan on doing it. They plan on firing a nuclear device at it. So that would be interesting. I'll keep you updated as that story progresses. We have a skateboarder smashes records with a 70-meter drop-in. If you haven't seen this, Red Bull drop-in, it was Red Bull sponsored athlete drop-in. It was pretty cool. He had a GoPro on, and he had his own POV. It was really cool. I would just go, search it up on YouTube, world record skateboard drop-in, and yeah, it looked really scary. Like his POV, how high he was, and the skateboard didn't even look that big. Like it looked like one of those mini skateboards, but apparently he knew what he was doing with it. So world champion Sandro Dias sets a new world record in Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil, by dropping in from a 70-meter building ramp. The daring feat marked both the highest and fastest skateboard descent ever achieved, thrilling fans worldwide. It was really cool. Next, we have a woman wins $150,000 with ChatGPT lottery numbers. Carrie Edwards, who used ChatGPT to pick her Powerball numbers, won $150,000 in a generous move. She announced she plans to donate the full amount to charity, calling it an unexpected blessing that she hopes will inspire others. And so, if you're ever wondering deciding on what to play if you do play the lottery, you could just ask ChatGPT and you might get lucky. Next up, we have California leads the U.S. in number of billionaires. Okay, it used to be New York, I reckon, and now California is now home to 255 billionaires, more than any other state in America. The tech-driven wealth of Silicon Valley continues to grow, cementing California's position as the nation's billionaire capital and a hub for global innovation. All right, a lot of wealth in California. Next up, we have Sergio Busquets retires from football. Legendary midfielder Sergio Busquets has announced his retirement after nearly 2 decades at the top. Known for his vision, composure, and leadership, he leaves behind a remarkable career filled with trophies and global recognition with Barcelona and Spain. Okay, farewell to Sergio Busquets, a legend in the sport of football, or if you're an American, soccer. Next up, we have the rose gold iPhone 6S turns 10. And I actually had this iPhone. Actually, I still do have this iPhone. One of my favorite iPhones. I believe the earlier iPhones were better, before they slowed them down to make you buy the newest iPhones. I really loved my 6S. Had the 6S. I had the 8, the 10. Currently have the 14. And as you know, the 16 is currently out. Is it 16 or 17? I believe it's 17 that's out, right? So Apple's rose gold iPhone 6S officially turns 10 this year. Released in 2015, a great year. Actually, the year I got hurt, but injured, rather. And, I miss 2015. Those were the good days before COVID. I think everything took a wild shift in our society in 2019 when the scamdemic, cursed and plagued the world. But that's another story. Released in 2015, the phone's unique design and features captured global attention, marking a milestone in smartphone history and cementing its place as a cultural icon. Happy birthday to the iPhone 6S. Next up, we have satellite data reveals that our Earth has a pulse. And we've actually talked about this in previous StormCast episodes. New satellite data reveals that Earth experiences rhythmic pulse-like shifts in its shape and gravity. These subtle movements suggest the planet operates with natural cycles, offering scientists fresh insight into Earth's dynamic systems and processes. Next up, we have gold leaps from $2,620 to $3,726 in 1 year. Gold has surged over the past 12 months, rising from $2,620 to $3,726 per ounce. Analysts attribute the jump to strong investment demand, inflationary pressures, and economic uncertainty, highlighting the precious metals continuing appeal as a safe haven asset. So if you want to get an appreciating asset, something that will continue to make you money in the future, other than stocks and investing and things of that nature, get you some gold, right? And it's a physical asset as well, so something that is going to be hard for someone to take, or something that, like hacking. You have people that can hack bank accounts and digital assets easily. But if you get some gold, you're going to be good, right? So get yourself some gold. Next up, we have. Oh, that's actually it for that news, the latest news in the past week. Alrighty, next up we have from WIS 10, fair use. We have a student brings gun on a school field trip, shoots himself in front of classmates. Right, we have a dark, sombering news cycle here. Police said the ninth grader from Canyon View Junior High shot himself while on a field trip at South Fork Park. And there's a video to go along with it. Fair use. All right. Right after this ad.
Save time creating content and generate a high quality.
It's the parents' worst night.
Let's load this up.
A group of ninth grade girls at Canyon View Junior High putting up a memorial outside their school in memory of what happened here at South Fork Park in Provo Canyon to a fellow student. Police say the ninth grader took a firearm and shot themselves in front of other students. These girls who didn't want to talk on camera say they heard the shot, which shocked and scared everyone. That student was flown to a local hospital and died from their injuries. KSL does not usually cover suicides, but because of the circumstances of a kid bringing a gun to school and firing it in front of other students, it brings it to another level.
The first thing that I think parents need to be thinking about is just learning a little bit more about what their own child's experience was.
Dr. Brooks Keeshan is a child mental health expert at the Huntsman Institute. He says kids are going to experience a variety of emotions.
You could be numb from this. You could be really on edge from this. You could just be really sad.
That's why he says parents need to pay attention and ask questions.
Tell me about it. I'm here to listen, but not kind of going and asking a whole bunch of very kind of direct questions.
All right, short little video there on our topic at hand. Let's see. Let's get out of this. Yeah, so very sombering news here. Very wild news. You know, the fact that this kid brought a gun on the school field trip and was able to do that. Luckily, he didn't shoot anyone else or any of the other kids, right? As you know, we have a school shooting problem going on in the country. But I don't believe that they'll identify the student because, of course, the student was underage, under the age of 18. They usually don't reveal the identity of minors in the news cycle. But very, very sad to hear, you know, very traumatizing for his classmates to witness. And, you know, why do you have to subject other students to this type of, you know, spiritual warfare, right? This is something that these kids are gonna always remember, always, you know, something that'll pop up in the back of their heads from time to time, you know. So let's read on. Orem, Utah. Students from a school in Utah are traumatized after a classmate brought a gun on a field trip and shot himself in front of others. Police said the ninth grader from Canyon View Junior High shot himself while on a field trip at South Fork Park. That student was flown to a local hospital where they died. Another case of self-deletion. KSL does not normally report on self-deletion, but because the student brought a gun to school and fired it in front of other students, it brings it to another level. A group of ninth grade students put up a memorial outside the school in memory of the student who passed away. They didn't want to talk on camera, but they said they heard the gunshot, which shocked and scared everyone. Further information was not released. All right, so apparently I'll keep you guys updated on that story as it progresses. We don't know much about, you know, the motive of the student who chose to self-delete in front of his classmates, but we will keep you updated as the story progresses. Next up, we have from CNBC. This is from MSN.com. Elon Musk is telling his followers to cancel Netflix subscriptions. Here's what's happening. And this is a story from Leia Nikoladan. All right, Leia. Elon Musk this week urged his followers to cancel their Netflix subscriptions over a controversy surrounding an animated show and its creator. Shares of the company are down 4% this week. Analysts say the statements might not have as big an impact on the stocks as Musk is intending. Right? We know Elon Musk has a huge platform and the owner of the social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter. Let's read on. Elon Musk this week urged his followers to cancel their Netflix subscriptions over a controversy surrounding an animated show and its creator. Musk on Wednesday posted on his X platform saying, "Cancel Netflix for the health of your kids." This post was in response to an image accusing Netflix of carrying out a transgender woke agenda. We know Elon Musk vehemently opposes the woke transgender movement that infests the minds of many Americans across the country. The controversy seems to stem from conservative backlash over an animated Netflix show called Dead End Paranormal Park, which features a transgender character. The show was canceled in 2023 after 2 seasons. In addition to several anti-trans posts, Musk also responded to a post criticizing alleged statements made by the show's creator, Hamish Still, that a prominent conservative X account said mocked the murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Still responded to Musk's call out on rival social media platform Blue Sky, saying, "It's probably going to be a very odd day." Still also shared a post by TV writer Jack Bernard that called Dead End a brilliant show about kind, wonderful characters. Also this week, vocal conservative activist Robbie Starbuck began posting about Netflix, echoing anti-trans sentiments and arguing the company has promoted an ideology that is, quote, hateful to white Americans. Starbuck, who has repeatedly targeted major corporations in recent months over diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, said in one of his X posts on Netflix, "No one should give this woke company another dime." Netflix did not respond to the requests for comment from CNBC. So no comment from Netflix. Let's see, there is a video here. Let's look at it a little bit, see what they're talking about. Fair use to message and
to cancel their subscriptions. Musk taking issue with the presence of a transgender character on one of the streaming platform shows. He posted, "Cancel Netflix for the health of your kids" this morning. Our Steve Kovac has more on all of this drama. Steve?
Oh boy, here we go. Look at the power of an Elon Musk tweet, Mel, because the targeted rage of that tweet and of his fans and followers, they sent Netflix shares down 2% today after Musk spent part of his day tweeting about that Netflix show called Dead End Paranormal Park, which features a transgender character. It's an animated show, by the way. Now, I think you guys can see where this is going. Musk called on his followers to cancel Netflix and said he already did so himself. He also criticized Netflix's DEI policies and pointed to it as another reason to cancel the service. There's also a lot of Charlie Kirk talk being thrown in there as well. Now, look, Dead End Paranormal Park, it was actually canceled back in 2023 after a 20-episode run of the show in 2022, so about 3 years old. The show is still hosted on Netflix like any other canceled originally programming Netflix has made. Now, it appears that the X account called Libs of TikTok discovered the show and posted about it on X, which drew Musk's attention and anger. Now, Variety reporting today, the creator of the show said...
All right, nothing like a nice ad midway through the news article. Now, Variety reporting today that the character... Okay, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why I decided to lag like that. But we get the gist of it, right? Elon Musk not liking the woke agenda being spread by Netflix. And if you didn't know, Netflix, the creator or owner of Netflix, rather, his grandfather is actually the known as the godfather of propaganda. So Netflix, watch at your own risk. There is a lot of subliminal messaging in a lot of their shows and movies, as we know. So, watch at your own convenience and your own risk, knowing that there are going to be messages in there that, are meant to perhaps persuade the mind or have you think a certain way, right? I actually do not watch Netflix personally or Hulu or any of these. I don't really watch TV in general anymore, right? The most I'll watch is, some football, some YouTube, listen to some podcasts. But it's been a minute since I've sat down and just binge watched a TV show. Personally, I see it as a big waste of time that I could be spending doing other things like upgrading my own life. But let's read on, right? Analysts say the backlash might not pose as big of a threat to Netflix as Musk may be hoping for. As we heard just now, there was a 2% drop in stock. Netflix reported 301.63 million subscribers as of the fourth quarter of 2024. The last time it reported the metric before shifting priority to revenue over user growth. The company has roughly $490 billion market cap, and its stock is up more than 60% in the past year. Okay. So shares lost nearly 5% over the last week. In quotes, is this going to move the needle necessarily? You're going to see people sign up on the back of that to counter it, CNBC contributor Guy Adami said Wednesday on Fast Money. I don't think this is a reason to sell the stock, he added. Wedbush Securities' Alicia Reese told CNBC that the comments came too late in the third quarter to make any meaningful impact on subscriber counts. Still, she says she believes the backlash won't make a major dent and that any impact will be offset by an increase in ad revenue. Their numbers should come out just fine, Reese says. I think that shares haven't been hit too hard. Seymour Asset Management's Tim Seymour said, though, a day of headlines may move the stock around. Netflix shares are ultimately too expensive to be significantly impacted or affected by internet backlash. In quotes, we've had these moments in time where whether it was an ad campaign that went wrong or whether it was some sense that a company was aligned in a particular political channel, I don't think that that's going to be the reason to sell Netflix here, Seymour said Wednesday. The calls for a boycott mirror those against Anheuser-Busch InBev in 2023 after it released an ad campaign with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. But the boycott of Bud Light, CNBC contributor Karen Finnerman noted on Wednesday, yielded, quote, far greater destruction than any other recent examples Feynman says, I feel like this will be very fleeting, right? And, Elon Musk doing his due diligence to try to keep America free of the woke agenda here. But it's not going to make too much of an impact as, owners of stock of Netflix, and, they're making too much money. There's too much money to be made. And there's always going to be users and bots out there that want to watch your TV shows and their movies, right? That's just how it is. Next up on our news cycle, we have from Instagram, Gain Goat. Also, if you haven't followed me on Instagram, at ICMick, ICYMICK, go ahead and do that. All right. I post a lot about the StormCast. We also have a StormCast Instagram called the StormCast. So go follow those and check us out on there. It's a great way to keep up with the show and stay updated with everything we have going on here. All right. So a study reveals heavy smokers have 37% lower muscle protein synthesis than non-smokers. A study published in the American Journal of Physiology, Endocrinology, and Metabolism set out to answer a simple but overlooked question. Does smoking affect the body's ability to build and maintain muscle? To find out, scientists compared long-term heavy smokers with individuals who had never smoked, measuring how efficiently their muscles synthesized new protein. What they uncovered points to a deeper risk. Smoking doesn't just blunt muscle growth, it shifts the body's internal balance toward loss. Elevated expression of myostatin and MAFBX, both powerful regulators of muscle wasting, suggest that smoking primes muscles to atrophy faster under stress, injury, or aging. In other words, smoking may not just stall progress in the gym, it may accelerate the decline of strength and function later in life. The implications reach far beyond heavy smokers, even at lower risk. Even at lower levels, smoking introduces the same toxic compounds that disrupt blood flow, impair recovery, and push muscle biology in the wrong direction. For athletes, lifters, and anyone invested in staying strong, this study is a stark reminder that smoking doesn't just take years off life, it directly undercuts performance and resilience. And this is a question that I've wondered as a marijuana smoker. I have smoked, weed, obviously, in the past, and I've always wondered the effects that it has on my muscles. I know a lot of people like to smoke weed before they work out because they feel as though it allows them to, feel their muscles better and have a better muscle-brain connection while they're in the gym. But as we are reading, it is not good for gains. So if you are trying to make gains in the gym, if you are trying to push your body and, or recover after injury, smoking is not good for you. Let's read on. A study found that heavy smokers defined as those who smoked multiple cigarettes a day for at least 20 years had 37% lower muscle protein synthesis than people who never smoked. Okay, so in the study, we're talking about cigarettes here, not marijuana, which makes me wonder how marijuana, it has to have similar effects, right? Of course, marijuana not as bad, but I've also heard that tobacco is also a stimulant and, good for, making gains, but it might be all the compounds and toxins within the cigarettes, I'm assuming. Let's read on. Muscle protein synthesis is the protein that repairs and builds new muscle tissue, and this dramatic reduction suggests chronic smoking directly sabotages the body's ability to grow and maintain muscle. One of the most surprising findings was that smoking didn't just slow down protein synthesis, it activated genes that promote muscle breakdown. Smokers showed a 33% increase in myostatin, a protein that blocks muscle growth, and a 45% increase in MAFBX, a gene linked to muscle wasting. Together, this double hit suppressed the body's muscle building machinery while priming it for loss. While this study compared extreme long-term heavy smokers to non-smokers, the broader implication is clear. Any level of smoking can interfere with the body's ability to build and preserve muscle. And personally, guys, I mean, it makes sense, right? You know, smoking is not good for blood flow. We know that. Blood flow is good for muscle building and muscle protein synthesis. So the link between smoking in this study, cigarettes directly impacts the body's ability to build muscle and to get stronger and everything related to that. So that's something good to know if you are in the gym, if you are trying to make gains, if you are trying to upgrade yourself and your body, that smoking is not going to be helpful for that, right? All right, next up, we have mental imagery of muscle contractions can increase strength through enhanced neural pathways, though it cannot replace physical exercise for muscle growth. Okay, so research shows that just visualizing exercise can make you 13% stronger, right? So, a lot of men, as a man or boy, growing up, young man, you look in the mirror and you flex, right? You flex your biceps, flex your chest, your abs, your core. Apparently, this is really good for you, right? Let's read on. So, just visualizing exercise can build muscle strength. Research shows that mental imagery of muscle contractions can trigger significant strength gains without any physical exercise. A landmark study found that participants who simply imagined doing elbow flexion exercises gained 13.5% strength in just 12 weeks, compared to 30% gains in those who actually exercised. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between imagined and real muscle contractions. Very interesting here. So, we have something called active recovery, right? So in the days that you're not in the gym, say you just do something light, like a bike, or, you walk. Although good, you could simply just lay in bed and imagine walking or imagine lifting weights, and it would be similarly effective for gaining strength and building muscle. How mental training changes your brain. Motor imagery works by enhancing the neural pathways that control muscle activation. Stronger cortical signals. Mental practice increases brain output to muscles. Better neural coordination improves communication between brain and muscle. Enhanced motor learning strengthens the movement patterns in your nervous system. The improvements occur in the central nervous system, not muscle tissue itself. Okay, so this works by your nervous system activating and firing rather than actually the muscles. Interesting, right? We know the nervous system, very important. All the nerves connected to it, and the output that it controls. So when mental training works best, mental imagery is most effective for specific scenarios. Injury recovery. When physical exercise isn't possible, mental training can help maintain strength and prevent further losses. Okay, so a lot of my viewers may either be, bedridden due to injury, or maybe you're just unable to get out and work out, go to the gym for whatever reason, and you have to take some time off, well, you can simply mentally train, right? And it would be productive and helpful, just as physical exercise would be. So skill learning, combining mental practice with physical training, accelerates strength and performance gains. Preparation, visualizing movements before performing them, can improve execution and reduce fatigue. Alrighty, so that's some health. Oh, there's another slide here. The power of mind-muscle connection. This research reveals that the incredible connection between your brain and muscles. While mental training can't replace physical exercise for building muscle mass, it demonstrates that strength is largely neurological and can be improved through focused mental practice. Your mind is a powerful tool for enhancing physical performance, even when your body isn't moving, right? So we now know that we can use our mind to upgrade ourselves, to make progress physically, right? So the mind and the body being connected, we know that they're connected, but now we know how it works, okay? Next up, we have the most unhealthiest foods on Earth. So the most unhealthiest food on Earth is processed meats, as they are classified by the World Health Organization as Group 1 carcinogens, okay? Things that cause cancer. According to real studies, these are the 5 unhealthiest foods on the planet. And yes, some will surprise you, from ultra-processed plant-based junk to sugary drinks and cancer-linked meats. The data is clear. These are the ones to avoid, or at least cut back on. Comment down below which one shocks you the most. Chat. At number 1, as we just read, it is processed meats. So these are going to be your Slim Jims, right? Your pepperonis, your sausages, your some bacons, and other varieties of meat. So look out for those. Be careful with your processed meats. Next up, we have the second unhealthiest food on Earth is ultra-processed foods, as they are linked to obesity, inflammation, and early death. All right, these are going to be your ramen noodles, right? Your chips, and things of that nature, right? Next up, we have the third unhealthiest food on Earth is sugary drinks, as they can increase diabetes and heart disease risk, right? We have things like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, right? Sugary drinks, right? Your juices, a lot of juices, you may not know, have a lot more sugar content than you think. So just be on the lookout for those. Be careful, and always read your labels, right? It's not going to be perfect on the labels on telling you exactly what's in there. I think they can go like 10 grams below or above what's actually in the product that you are consuming. But be careful with your sugary drinks. All right, next up, for the fourth unhealthiest food on Earth is ultra-processed plant-based junk, as it can raise heart disease risk up to 65%, right? So there was a health craze recently for plant-based foods and meat. But we now know that these are not healthy, right? Your plant-based burgers, your plant-based chicken, your plant-based meats, these are not good for you, although you may think they are because they are considered, quote unquote, plant-based. There's a lot of junk in there that, is not good for the body. All right. And last on our list, coming in at number 5 for the fifth unhealthiest food on earth is high sugar snacks, as they are empty calories, causing weight gain and metabolic decline. Okay, so we all know not to eat your dessert before your food, right? Of course, some of these things, not all these things are gonna kill you immediately, but be very cautious and eat these things maybe not every day, but in moderation, right? And just watch out for the things you're consuming and how they label them, especially things like plant-based foods, and how they advertise them to you. You may get tricked into believing that you're eating something healthy that is actually causing you damage. All right, for our first main topic of today's episode, we have a subject that's got everyone talking. The open carry of firearms in Florida is now legal starting September 25th, which is now in effect. We are in October. So this is from CBS News. Open carry begins in Florida, marking major change in state law. What that means for gun owners. And we have a video here. Fair use, of course. Let's see what they're talking about. Probably gonna have to refresh this so that we can get the video. All right, let's pull this up. Right after this ad from Prize Picks. Prize Picks not sponsored, but we have Drewski and Reggie Bush here. So
exactly are you grinding?
My pollex muscles, man.
The what now?
Thumbs.
Well, let me know when your pollex hits a PR.
Now we shaming non-traditional athletes. Wow.
Pick, predict, play. Download today. New users play $5 and get $50 instantly in site credits. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
Happening today, Florida's open carry law is now in effect. People who live in Florida can now openly carry guns across the state. Earlier this month, the Florida Appeals Court struck down the state's open carry ban. The ruling, by the way, does not affect restrictions on guns in police stations, courthouses, polling places, government meetings, and schools. Also, private businesses still have the right to prohibit guns on their property.
Living conditions.
All right.
That's according to a lawsuit filed by the Seminole Tribe of Florida against Miami-based Lennar Homes. Lennar built more than 400.
Stop that. All right. So if you are in Florida, this can either be scary news or positive news for you, depending on which side of the fence you stand on regarding gun laws, right? Our Second Amendment. So it says here, open carry officially begins this Thursday in Florida, marking a significant change in the state's gun laws. So don't be surprised if you see some people with a pistol on their hips at your local grocery store. In an appeal court decision earlier this month, Florida's ban on openly carrying firearms was deemed unconstitutional and a violation of the Second Amendment. Florida Attorney General James Youthmeyer quickly embraced this September 10th open carry decision by a panel of the First District Court of Appeal as the quote, the law of the state, and issued guidance for prosecutors, police, and sheriffs, warning them not to arrest or put on trial law-abiding citizens carrying a firearm in a manner that is visible to others, right? So still yet to be determined whether I think this is a good idea or a bad idea, right? You're going to have psychopaths out there that, just want to flex their guns and, want to show what they got. But, there's going to be people out there that abuse this, and it may also lead to more violence, right? My dad always used to say, shout out to my pops, that, not having it, not having it around causes less problems than having it around a lot of times, right? So according to the court's decision, the law became legal on this Thursday, September 25th, 2025, which gave the state 15 days to appeal the ruling. Here's everything you need to know about open carry in Florida, okay? Can you open carry a gun everywhere in Florida? The short answer is no. In the 3-judge panel, 20-page decision, Judge Stephanie Ray wrote, quote, "That is not to say that open carry is absolute or immune from reasonable regulation," Youthmeyer agreed, saying that the state and federal restrictions on carrying firearms in specific locations would still apply. This means that the law is now open to interpretation because the legislation has not caught up to the ruling. The decision overturned a 1987 law that made it a misdemeanor to display guns visibly. While people in Florida were barred for decades from openly carrying firearms, Floridians could still receive concealed weapons licenses. Open carry means anyone can publicly carry a legally owned gun that is kept in plain sight or partially concealed. Under previous Florida law, openly carrying a firearm is a second-degree misdemeanor with a $500 fine or a maximum 60-day jail sentence. Okay? So can gun owners open carry in Florida now? According to the decision, open carry can no longer be prohibited in any place where government property is open to the public and unrestricted. However, further specifications need to be made by Florida lawmakers in the next legislative session. So can Florida residents wear their guns at, say, Publix or Walmart or any other grocery store? The decision states that private property owners are still able to prohibit firearms on their property, which includes homes and businesses. According to Youthmeyer, any violation of this can be considered armed trespassing, a third-degree felony. According to the Tallahassee Democrat, Publix asked back in 2021 for customers not to openly carry guns in their stores in states where open carry is legal, although they allowed concealed carry. Meanwhile, Target asked customers to leave the guns at home in 2014. Trader Joe's said in 2019 that they, quote, "do not welcome weapons of any kind in their stores and never have." And Walmart bans open carry but allows concealed carry. So where is open carry not allowed in Florida? The appeals court ruling affected part of a law that set parameters for concealed weapons licenses. That law says a concealed weapons license does not authorize any person to openly carry a handgun or carry a concealed weapon or a concealed firearm into a list of prohibited places, such as jails, bars, legislative committee meetings, and police stations. Right now, after the appeals court ruling on open carry, in a number of places, the prohibited places don't technically apply. Sean Carana, executive director of the gun rights group Florida Carry Inc., told the news service of Florida on September 19th, there is going to be a brief period of time here where obviously the statutes have not caught up to the court rulings. And we're advising that sometimes discretion is the better part of valor, and people should abide by the current set of places that are prohibited when it comes to all forms of carry. Currently, these are the locations where there are state and federal bans on open and concealed carry. Listen up. Any place of nuance as defined in Section 823.05, sort of an open term that includes places that endanger the health of the community, become, quote, manifestly injurious to the morals or manners of the community or annoy the community, such as prostitution dens, illegal gambling halls, specified massage parlors, and anywhere criminal gang activity happens. You know, very vague there, you know, that can mean a lot of places, right? So as I said, it's up to the interpretation of the citizen, right? Which isn't always good, right? You know, we have a lot of mentally, you know, ill people in the country, which can definitely flip this law in their own benefit. Let's read on. Other places include any police, sheriff, or highway patrol station, any detention facility, prison, or jail, any courthouse, although judges may carry in the courtroom and may determine who else can. Interesting. Polling places, any meeting of the governing body of a county, public school district, municipality, or special district, any meeting of the legislature or a committee thereof, any school, college, or professional athletic event not related to firearms, right? So another vague description there, not related to firearms. What does that mean, right? Professional athletic events, any elementary or secondary school facility or administration building, any career center, any portion of an establishment licensed to dispense alcoholic beverages for consumption of the premises, which portion of the establishment is primarily devoted to such purpose, any college or university facility, the inside of the passenger terminal and sterile area of any airport, unless enclosed for shipment to be checked as baggage, any place where the carrying of firearms is prohibited by federal law. All right, so Khurana said his group will work with legislators and other stakeholders to tweak the law during the legislative session that begins in January. He says in quotes, "Nobody is trying to say that we're going to have a situation where people are allowed to carry into a jail. Absolutely, there are places where a prohibition is appropriate, and there are going to be parameters around that," he says. It's too early to say which spaces should be deemed off limits for guns, Khurana says. Any changes would have to be in line with the, quote, historical precedent based on the time of the ratification of the Second Amendment, pointing to U.S. Supreme Court rulings establishing that gun rights restrictions must be in keeping with the nation's historical tradition. They may not be able to meet that burden, just as the state could not meet its burden for a historical precedent for the banning of open carry, he says. Not all gun rights advocates agree that some locations should be free of firearms. All right. So how does the decision impact Florida's red flag laws? Okay, Florida, a very interesting state. As always, there's always something going on in Florida, right? According to the decision, the change to open carry only applies to people legally allowed to possess guns, which mean it does not affect other restrictions in Florida firearm laws, such as restrictions for those under the age of 21, convicted felons, violent career criminals, or people who have restraining orders from committing acts of domestic violence. Florida's red flag laws for risk protection also still apply. That means guns can be taken away from people who have been taken into custody for an involuntary examination under the Baker Act, have been adjudicated, mentally defective, or have been committed to a mental institution, have been temporarily blocked from possessing firearms because a law enforcement officer or agency petitioned the court and stated they were at high risk of harming themselves or others. So Florida law also has strict conditions about how long a person can be kept from possessing a gun in those instances and when they can be returned. Alrighty. So next up, switching topics here. Let me know also down below what you think about Florida, and if you think, that's good for the state, or you think any other states should adopt this, if open carry is a good thing or a bad thing. Let me know down below. All right, next up we have scientists create a hologram you can actually touch. All right, folks, we are now in the future. The future is here. This is no sci-fi movie. It's real science. Researchers have just created the world's first hologram that you can actually touch. by using bursts of air and high-tech sensors. The holograms create the feeling of real objects in your hand. Imagine scrolling your phone in midair, shaking hands with someone miles away, or holding a holographic tool that feels solid. The future isn't just visual anymore, it's becoming tactile. And this is showing, implications of, the new glasses that are coming out, smart glasses. We're seeing that they're going to have displays on them that, project holograms. But this is actually really interesting, right? This is going to be something physical that you can actually, interact with in real time. Let's read on. Researchers have developed holograms that can be felt with bare hands. They use air pressure and sensors to simulate real touch. It means future holograms won't just be seen, they'll be physically interactive. Imagine shaking hands with someone's hologram, or holding virtual objects. If you're not okay, so that's pretty wild stuff here. We have a video going along with it from Global Update, Fair Use, titled Researchers Developed 3D Holograms You Can Touch, Grab, and Move. All right, let's blow this up and get right into it.
Researchers at the Universidad Pública de Navarra have created something that feels almost like science fiction, a 3D display you can actually reach into with your bare hands. Called FlexiVol, this system lets users interact directly with virtual content floating in space, no headsets, gloves, or controllers required. It marks a shift in how we might engage with digital environments, offering a more hands-on, natural experience. FlexiVol builds on the principle of swept volumetric displays, which project 2D slices onto a moving diffuser to form a 3D image. These images are created through persistence of vision. Conventional systems use a rigid diffuser that prevents physical interaction. FlexiVol replaces this component with a set of elastic strips, allowing users to insert their hands into the display volume and interact with rendered objects. The system uses a projector and oscillating diffuser strips to form the 3D image. The projector outputs slices at high frame rates, synchronized with the movement of the diffuser. The elastic diffuser enables direct physical interaction without damaging the display or harming the user. The researchers tested several materials for use as the diffuser. These included elastane, silicone, and projection fabrics. They evaluated each based on optical performance, stiffness, frequency response, and deformation. Elastic bands composed of polyester and elastane were selected due to their performance across all tests. To address visual distortion caused by the movement of the elastic diffuser, the team developed a correction algorithm. This model predicts the shape of the diffuser at any point during oscillation and adjusts the projected image accordingly. A polynomial function is applied to correct mesh vertices, preserving the integrity of the 3D content. FlexiVol allows users to reach through the diffuser to manipulate 3D content. Interactions occur when users touch or pass between diffuser strips. The system supports gestures such as grasping, pinching, pushing, rotating.
Here, we'll pause that right there. Shout out to the chat. We have Booby Black. Oh, we actually have 6 viewers in the chat too. Shout out to everyone watching currently. 8 viewers now. Shout out to Booby Black 0403. He says, bro, we got to link C5, C6 squad. Shout out to Booby Black. Yeah, man, we got a link. If you're ever in South Carolina, hit me up, bro, and we can make that happen. Yeah, got a lot of viewers in my chat that are also quadriplegic or have disabilities. So shout out to everyone out there with disabilities. Let's continue on.
And sliding. These gestures map to actions like selection, scaling, movement, and tracing. The system does not use abstract metaphors or indirect control schemes. The alignment between hand position and rendered objects allows for interactions that follow physical movement patterns. A study with 18 participants compared FlexiVol with a 3D mouse. Participants completed 3 tasks: selection, tracing, and docking. The study measured completion time, positional accuracy, and perceived workload. Reach-through interaction resulted in faster completion times and reduced cognitive workload. Accuracy was slightly reduced compared to the 3D mouse. Most participants preferred using their hands. Several noted that interaction felt more familiar and did not require explanation. Participants also reported that inserting their hands into the display felt safe and comfortable. Some described sensations from the oscillating diffuser. A few expressed interest in expanded gesture options, such as using both hands or more complex motions. FlexiVol could be used in modeling, visualization, education, games, and medical training. Participants suggested potential uses such as surgery planning, collaborative design, and digital content manipulation. The display system also produces less noise than conventional setups using rigid components.
Okay. So shout out to Global Update and the company FlexiVol for progressing our innovation in technology. Guys, we're going to have holograms here soon. Future's looking promising. Although there's a lot of crazy stuff, wild stuff going on around the world, a lot of people suffering, hungry, a lot of war, famine. We are still making progress, people, so there is reason to have hope out there. I promise things will get better. And, keep on the look for, technology to continue to grow, innovate, and get better. And that'll help a lot of people out there and help the world out, hopefully. All right. So we have next up, let's move on to the next topic. We have Texas bans lab-grown meat. And as we know, plant-based meats and other meats that are not from actual animals, as we read earlier, are very unhealthy, not good for you. So Texas is doing something good here, it seems, right? So Texas just became the 7th American state to officially ban lab-grown meat, joining Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Montana, Nebraska, and Indiana. Texas has officially joined 6 other states in banning the production and sale of lab-grown meat, making it the 7th U.S. state to take this stance. The legislation signed into law restrictions how cultivated meat can be marketed, labeled, and sold within the state. The move has sparked debate between traditional ranching industries who argue the ban protests farmers and food tech companies who claim cultivated meat is a sustainable solution to feed a growing population. Critics say the restrictions could stifle innovation and slow down efforts to reduce environmental impact from livestock farming. Okay, so I want you guys to let me know down below if you're into lab-grown meat, perhaps plant-based meat. Maybe you're a vegan, a vegetarian, or whatever, and you think that eating animals is wrong ethically. Personally, I was under the belief that killing animals, for their food was wrong. I was kind of brainwashed into believing that when I was younger, maybe. So I did go vegan for like a month, and then I realized it's not healthy for me, right? I need protein, real protein that is going to be used by my body correctly. Plant-based meat, although there is protein within plants, it is not as bioavailable as animal proteins. And we know that because it has been tested and shown. And I know that personally because subjectively, I have seen it in my own recovery and in my own physiology, right? So with Texas joining Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, Montana, Nebraska, and Indiana, the pushback against cultivated meat highlights a growing cultural divide over the future of food in America. Someone in the comments says fake meat should have never been approved in the first place. This other person says there is literally no one but Gates that wants lab-grown meat, right? So you have a picture of Bill Gates here, and he's a huge proponent of depopulation. Saying that we have too many people on Earth and now we're not going to be able to sustain it. but we know that as false, right? We know that as not true because there's actually a population decrease happening in the United States. Women and men having less children than ever before, and there should be a push to actually be having more kids, and feeding them healthy, sustainable diets, right? And we can do that, right? It's possible. So yeah, we have a article to go along with what we just read from the Texas Tribune, titled "Only One Restaurant in Texas Sells Lab-Grown Meat. Lawmakers banned it anyway." Starting September 1st, cultured meat sales will be banned for the next 2 years, even though the product isn't ready to be sold at a large scale. Lab-grown meat isn't being sold in Texas grocery stores or featured on most restaurant menus. In July, Austin sushi restaurant Otoko began putting wild types cultivated salmon on its menu, making it the first and only restaurant in Texas to sell a lab-grown product. Despite the lack of widespread sales of lab-grown meat, also called cell-cultivated meat or cultured meat, lawmakers in June passed a law to ban its sale in Texas for the next 2 years, starting September 1st. Lawmakers approved the ban because of concerns that the cultured meat industry could disrupt traditional livestock markets and family farms, as well as concerns about product labeling. "It's a preemptive position for us," says Carl Ray Polk Jr., a fifth-generation rancher in East Texas and president of the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association, who testified in support of the bill in a March Senate committee hearing. He says in quotes, "We want to put this in a moratorium, at least a 2-year ban until everything checks and the balances are there for them to take the product to retail." Scroll down here. Scientists and experts in cellular agriculture say the ban appears to be a political move that will have little to no impact on the market, since cell-cultivated meat, which is derived from animal cells and grown in bioreactors, isn't being sold on a large scale yet. It seems more like a statement than anything that's going to have a lasting impact, says Dr. Kate Kruger, a cell biologist who previously worked as a scientist at Perfect Day Foods and now does technical evaluations for biotech companies focused on cell-based meat. Supporters of the industry say that it can be a more ethical and sustainable food source. It promises to help meet the rising consumer demand for meat without killing animals and without the risk of viruses that animals can carry. The industry is relatively new after a surge of investor interest in the mid-2010s. Funding for the industry has lost momentum in the past 2 years. And before we read on, I kind of find it funny how, we use cells from animals to make meat that's not actual animal meat, and we pretend that it's meat even though it's not, right? So why not just eat real meat if you're gonna pretend it's meat, right? Like a fake burger. What's the point of that? All right. It's confusing. Let's read on. The industry is relatively new after a surge of investor interest in the mid-2010s. Funding for the industry has lost momentum. Okay, we just read that. In 2022, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration gave approval for 2 companies, Upside Foods and Good Meat, to sell cell-cultivated chicken, and a year later, the U.S. Department of Agriculture approved the label of cell-cultivated chicken for the product. Since then, both companies have sold the product to U.S. restaurants. Today, 4 companies have government permission to sell cultivated meat in the U.S., according to the Good Food Institute, a nonprofit think tank focused on advancing innovation in alternative proteins. We did not bespoke tasting events and continue to do many events in multiple states in the United States to make people familiar with it as we produce it at a small scale, said Uma Valeti, the CEO and founder of Upside Foods. This scale, however, is too small to have an impact on the market, according to scientists. Okay, in quotes, is a nice proof of concept, but that's not really having an impact on the consumer market, said Paul Mozdizak, a professor at North Carolina State University who has been teaching cell culture since 1992. He says it is something that's highly specialized and something that only somebody at a high-end restaurant is going to eat. While the new state law bans selling cultivated meat, it does not ban research and development, which Katie Cam is grateful for. Cam, an Austin native and longtime vegan who dreams of selling a cultured barbecue beef brisket from a food truck, is founder of BioBQ, the only cultivated meat startup based in Texas. Right, so how contradictory does that sound, right? She's trying to make these lab-grown meats. She's a vegan, but her dreams is to sell barbecue beef brisket from a food truck, right? So, I guess there has to be options for everybody, and perhaps there are people out there that just, don't do well with animal proteins, perhaps. Very rare, but maybe. So there has to be alternatives, but it doesn't seem as though this is going to be picking up much traction, and it isn't, as we've seen and read, that it isn't making much ground. It's still at its early stages, right? And it's been at its early stages for quite a while now, and I don't see it, trending upward at a high trajectory and velocity. Let's read on. BioBQ is not currently offering any products for sale, but Cam worries that the ban will have a chilling effect and deter already hesitant investors. Now investors aren't so sure that Texas is friendly to business, and they don't want to invest in business where they're not even sure the product can be sold, Cam said. So, all right, we get the gist of it here, folks. I'm not going to read this entire article because it is very long and lengthy. But there you have it, folks. Texans banning lab-grown meat. Let me know your thoughts down below, and whether you subscribe to veganism, maybe vegetarian, or you love your steak and your chicken on a hot platter with potatoes and perhaps a bowl of macaroni and cheese. Okay. All right, folks. So this next one's pretty interesting. Let's unpack everything. A Chinese hospital, now uses a blood drawing robot that hits veins with 94% precision. A hospital in Hangzhou, China, is testing a robot that uses cameras, sensors, and AI to locate veins and draw blood. Reports claim a 94% first attempt success rate. For comparison, trained medical staff average 80 to 85%, while top performers reach around 95%. According to peer-reviewed studies, the system is still experimental, but early numbers show it's close to expert-level performance. All right, and I'm one of those people that hate going to the hospital, mainly because of the pricking and prodding. I hate to get my blood drawn. I hate to get my veins poked at and things like that. You let me know your thoughts on this as we read on. We have a video here, actually. Appears to be in Asian, perhaps Chinese, I assume.
血管识别非常请稍等，并会中即互动。即将分发消费。 正在采取录音，请稍等。
别动啊！
采取听完。
好，分出来了，把分出来，分几米圈。Yikes.
血管识别功能，请稍等。
So we have a real person here, getting their veins and their blood drawn by one of the robots. It appears to be using a laser for guidance, and then swiftly and quickly prodding the person in the video. That doesn't look too much better, in my opinion. I'm not sure what I would rather prefer, if I'd prefer a human to do it or a robot to quickly stab me like that. Either way, we have a video to go along with it. It appears to be the video I just showed, that we just watched. This video being a little bit longer, titled "Need to Draw Blood? A Robot in China Can Help You." And this is from South China Morning Post. Fair use. Let's watch. I want you to let me know down below, would you let a machine draw your blood?
正在采写出血管识别中，请稍等。定位中，请勿移动。即将喷洒消毒液。正在采写中。
And if you're not watching the visual podcast and you're just listening to the audio version, I suggest that you come on over to YouTube or Twitter and check it out, because this is pretty interesting. I know I have a lot of audio listeners. A lot of people listen to me, whether they're working out or, they're working or doing something else. But I'd recommend you come watch it. It's pretty interesting. And they're in Zhejiang, China, doing this. Let's continue. Before we continue on in this very interesting and wild video, we all have Booby Black back in the chat. Shout out to Booby Black. He says, let me know how I can reach you. And you can reach me on Instagram at IcyMick, ICYMICK, or on my Stormy, says Stormy, my StormCast Instagram, which is the StormCast. So yeah, just shoot me a DM, and yeah, man, we can link up. Always down to link with a fellow quad. Let's continue. Wild stuff there from China. Asia always doing their thing. Always something crazy going on with the Asian side of the world. And they're always, first to innovate technologically, as we see. A robot completely drawing blood, bandaging you up, and drawing a sample of blood from you. So pretty wild stuff to witness. And the future is going to be robotic, right? There's, doctors, nurses, the healthcare field, those workers of the healthcare field, you guys are slowly getting priced out with the innovation of robots and more technology. AI, of course, controlling these robots a lot of times. So they're just getting smarter, and they're replacing a lot of people. And we're probably gonna have to get used to society, where robots are doing a lot of our jobs, right? And things that we once relied on humans for, we no longer have to. So to close out the episode, let's wrap things up with one last topic. This one's got some layers to peel back. So we have a baby has been born from an embryo made by robots. All right. Robots are now helping create human life by automating key steps in IVF. A company called Conceivable Life Sciences has built a system named Aura that uses robotics and AI to handle delicate procedures like injecting sperm into an egg. In one trial, a baby was born from an embryo created entirely through this automated process, though doctors still supervise the work. So the idea to make IVF more reliable, in IVF being in vitro fertilization, a lot of people have trouble, conceiving and getting pregnant naturally. So IVF is an option for them. Well, now the idea is to make IVF more reliable and acceptable. Today, success often depends on the skill of individual embryologists. By standardizing the process, automation could lower costs and expand fertility options for more people. But this is not the same thing as building babies from scratch, right? The robots don't handle pregnancy or birth, only the fertilization step, while artificial wombs and child rearing machines remain science fiction. This shift shows how automation is beginning to reshape even the most fundamental parts of human reproduction. Wow, pretty interesting stuff to think about. It makes me think about the movie Alien, or actually it's Prometheus rather, where they had that baby, that alien baby impregnated into that woman, and she gives birth to that alien. It just made me think of that. Let me know if you've seen the movie Prometheus, goated movie. And we have a video to go along with it, titled "China Creating Controversial Pregnancy Robots." This is from CBN News. Fair use, of course. And let's get into it.
China is reportedly developing pregnancy robots. Yes, you heard me right. Complete with artificial wombs to help couples struggling with infertility. This is not science fiction. Billy, this is absolutely wild. Let me read you something from the doctor who's spearheading this technology, Dr. Zhang Quifeng. He said, quote, "The artificial womb technology is already in a mature stage, and now it needs to be implanted in the robot's abdomen so that a real person..."
And this is from a month ago, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So fresh off the press, fresh news here on the StormCast. W's in the chat, W episode so far. Let's continue. Oh, I'm muted. Let's go back a little bit.
And now it needs to be implanted in the robot's abdomen so that a real person and the robot can interact to achieve pregnancy, allowing the fetus to grow inside. Billy, what's your reaction?
I mean, this is horrifying on a number of levels. I think, look, there are people who are going to say this is going to help people who can't have children. And I understand and I sympathize with that piece of the puzzle. You're trying to have children. You can't do it. You're looking for a way to have that happen. I think there are so many ethical issues that emerge with this, though. God designed the body in a very particular way. Not just the body, but he designed relations between a man and a woman in a particular way. And a baby growing inside, I mean, you have children, I have children, growing inside the womb of a human mother, there's a connection point there that you want to see happen that is not happening in this case. What you have is a machine purportedly, and we have not seen this yet to know that this is actually something that could work, right? They're saying it could work. They're saying it could happen. I think we know that science is moving at such a fast speed that it won't be shocking to see this happen. But the point is, there are severe and massive ethical issues with this. Also keeping in mind the fact that in testing this, you have to assume, outside of all the other issues, that there are going to be losses of human life, because I doubt it's going to work on the first try. So it's a little bit horrifying, honestly.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder, past few years it's been kosher to call someone a birthing person, which my wife finds horribly offensive. It's like, I'm a mother, and you guys are taking that away from me. I'm like, okay, let me, babe, let me throw you another one. Pregnancy robots. I wonder how she's going to take that one. But apparently the price is 100,000 yen, which is about $14,000. Which, to your point, if surrogates cost between 100K and 200K, this is a much cheaper option. Now we've talked about gender confusion, all that stuff, but now we're talking about non-human relations, humanoid ethics. It's a whole new can of worms. I was thinking like, God, like, what's a Bible verse that I could, use to add to this conversation? I'm like, I don't know. Like I have to start from square one. Like, okay, robots creating or at least facilitating human life. I don't know where that is in scripture. So Billy, maybe in closing, like how do we even start this conversation from a biblical ethics standpoint?
Yeah, I think we have to start it with prayer and understanding. A lot of times when something isn't going the way we want it to in life, we try to take matters into our own hands. And I think this is an example of this. I'm not saying this wouldn't help some people. I'm not saying there wouldn't be elements that people could argue are good. I think you have to pray through, though, and ask God, are the negatives outweighing the positives? And one thing we do have to mention here, this is not just a womb. As far as we can understand, it's a humanoid, as you said. It's supposed to look like a human, act like a human, and do what humans can do, which is to not only facilitate the growth of life, but then actually have the baby. So,
okay, we're getting into the ethical and the moral conversation here. I'm not really too interested in that, honestly. People are going to have their, thoughts either way, whether they think it's, right by God and in God's eyes. I understand that argument as well, but I'm all about bringing you the news, and I'm all about technological innovation and advancement of our society, right? And if that's going to progress human society in any way, benefit us in any way, I believe that why not, right? And if you don't want to do it, don't do it, right? You have that freedom, to have a kid naturally if you choose to, right? But for people who are affected for whatever reason and are not able to conceive, I feel like it would be a great option, right? Let me know your thoughts down below. With that being said, folks, I appreciate everybody who has tuned in to this awesome episode, episode 34 of the StormCast. We currently have 8 live viewers, so shout out to everybody in the chat. We are having more episodes, obviously coming up weekly, more guests on the way as well. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Patreon. That's another way you can support the podcast. The link down in the description if you feel inclined to support the channel, support the podcast. You like what I got going on, you want to see me continue, you can join for just $5 a month or whatever you choose to donate, and you also get plenty of perks and benefits along with it. You get a community of like-minded individuals. You get behind the scenes footage, vlogs, and content that I cannot drop on any platforms, specifically YouTube. We know they're pretty strict, and YouTube has its own way of doing things. So that's a cool way to come and check out more content, and you can request for content and other things as well on there. If you enjoyed the episode, I'd appreciate if you shared it. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and provide some feedback down below. Ask questions. Let me know what you thought about today's topics, good or bad. Whether you want me to talk about a specific topic, you can comment down below, and I'll get to it. I read all comments, and just like that, that's been another episode. I want to leave you guys off with a quote that I found pretty impactful, and I want to share it with you guys. It goes, "Every storm has two purposes: to wash away what isn't solid and to show you what is. Keep going." And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, it's been another episode. I love you. Stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, folks. Peace.